Okay, let's get into something called platform. Now, if you see in platform, you have something called Tomcat server, this TC server and Tomcat, both are servers only. Okay, and you have Apache Ant. Apache Ant. It's 1.9.1 version. Okay, let's learn a little about these two things and we'll come back to this. Okay, now see, Ant is a build tool. Okay, the competitor in the market for Ant is Maven. You also have Maven, which does the same work like Ant. Okay, it's like how should I say? Superman is an alien in DC Comics, right? You have Thor, who is an alien in Marvel. Both are aliens. Both have superpowers in the same way. Maven and Ant both do the same work, but the kind of work they do will be a little different with respect to the code that they write. This guy has a hammer, that guy has a cape. Difference, right? In appearance and all, in a similar way. And is a different kind of a build tool. Maven is a different kind of build tool, but both are used for building. Now, what happens during the build? See, you write a Java code, right? In general, you write a Java code. Now, this Java code is human understandable. Okay, or compiler understandable. Should I have to say compiler understandable? Understandable. Okay, now this has to be machine understandable. You have to convert it to machine based code, right? That means something which can be easily understood by a machine. That too, make it more robust. What do you mean by robust? I write a code in C. Let's say I write a code in I write a Java code in my Mac machine. Okay, I take this code and put it into a Windows operating system related machine. It should still work. That is called robustness. The code which is generated for this machine based is called bytecode. Okay, this is called bytecode. Now, when is this bytecode generated? You write a Java code and you compile it. The Java code gets converted into bytecode. Okay, this is what happens. This is unnecessary gyan for you, but learning is very good, right? But you will be more clear about what is happening inside. See, a simple Java code needs to be converted into bytecode so that machine can understand it. To do this, somebody needs to compile. That Java code needs to be compiled. Assume that Java is like a bread. You need a grill, you need that toaster to toast it. Ultimately, it will be converted into a toast. Now, in a similar way, you need a compiler. Now, this compilation process can be done with the help of several tools in the market, out of which one of the famous one is your Ant. Okay. Now, the moment you use your Ant tool, it will compile your Java code into bytecode. It will also help you to create your folder structures. Okay, it will also help you to create your folder structure. Now let's get into a detailed level of this. See here, when I open bin, I have some folders here, right? Now I need to get this converted and built. I want all of these extensions to be built perfectly. How do I do that? I get into I want all of those extensions to be built as in, I want to utilize all the functionalities that are given out of the box. Hybriss is giving me some default set of functionalities. I want to use all of them. How do I need to tell Hybriss that I need all of these extensions? Let me just open bin. You see accelerator, there are 5 extensions. These are 5 different extensions. Okay. Now you see add-on, these are some 10 different extensions are there, right? If you open commerce, you can see that there is a payment extension, there is a promotion extension. Sorry, my bad. Okay, there's a payment extension, there's a promotion extension, there's a solar facet extension, there's a ticketing system, voucher, wish list. So you have a lot of extensions here. Now, all of these need to be built. You want to use all of these extensions out of the box. So, something like this will be there. Just try to understand. Whenever you run your Ant, assume that I am the Ant tool and you just started me. what will I do is I'll go and I'll talk to build.xml file. Okay, I'll go and I'll talk to build.xml file. Now this build.xml file will ask you, boss, please tell me what extensions you want to build. What do you want to build? Now you'll have to mention the names, right? You cannot just mention them like that. You'll have to put them in a file, and that file is called local extensions.xml file. Okay? So I'll repeat the point one more time. Whenever you start your and, it will try to build your application. That means to start your application, first of all, before you start your server, you need to do a build. I write my code. In order to see that my code changes are reflected, I need to do a build activity. Now to do my build, I will take support of and. Whenever I run my and command, it will first of all go and talk to build.xml file. Now build.xml file will try to talk to local extensions.xml file. This contains the list of all extensions which have to be built. Now if you see here, the moment I am opening bin, I am not having any here because all of these extensions, all of the licenses have been extracted. You can see that there is no local extensions.xml file here. There is no local extensions.xml file. There is no local extensions.xml file here as well, even within the platform. Right? Now, because I need local extensions.xml file, what will I try to do is, see here. This is my main folder. Open Hybriss, open bin, go to platform. Platform is the base extension of everything. It's like Big Daddy. Go to platform, open this in your command prompt. Open this in your command prompt. First thing that I need to do is I type and clean all. And space clean space all. It's 3 words, it's not a single word. And space clean space all. Now it is literally scolding me, saying that boss, I am unable to understand what ant is. I don't know what ant is, please tell me what ant is and then try to run ant clean all. So what will I try to do is, first of all, there is something called set and env here. If you see, there is something called set and env. So first of all, set and env.dat. If you are using a Windows environment, use batch file. DAT stands for batch file. If you are using a Linux Unix based environments like even Macintosh, you can use hybriss.sh. You need to run your shell script files right there. So I'll just type hybriss set and env.dat. Now it is setting my ant home. Because ant home is set, now it can understand ant clean all. Earlier, the moment I just opened this and typed ant clean all, it was literally scolding me, saying that boss, I am unable to understand what ant is. Now that I have set my ant environment, the first command that we have run is set ant env.dat. It has set the ant environment. Now run your ant space clean space all. Ant space clean space all. Okay. Can one of you please read this slowly and clearly? You have to unmute yourself. Sorry. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, sir.
Yeah, it's E functional.
Can you please keep your mic a little closer?
It's E functional Hybriss log, E functional Hybriss data.
Okay. I think you are not able to get it. So if you see here, it is saying that it has created a directory called log in Hybriss folder. It has created a directory. Okay. Can please be on mute now?
Yeah.
It has created a directory called data in Hybriss folder. It has created a directory called temp in Hybriss folder. That is what it has done. Okay. Now if you carefully observe, the moment I have run and space clean space all, it has first of all created me 3 different directories. Okay, log, data, temp, and within temp it has created Hybriss directory. Let us go and check it. The moment I have extracted the suite, I have got bin and licenses only. Now, apart from this, the moment I run and space clean space all, it has created data directory. Let me open data directory. It's empty. Log, it's also empty. temp, which is containing Hybriss, this is also empty. Basically, these three folders are created, but I still don't have my local extensions.xml file. So ultimately, as per the concept, when I am running my and command, that is, I just have run and space clean space all. That's a command. The moment I have run that, it is, see, two commands we have run already. First command is set and dnv.pad. Second command is and space clean space all. I'll again put them on properly in the notes. If you see here, my and tool is going and talking to build.xml file. If you open your platform, because we have run the command from platform folder only, right? I've opened platform in the command prompt, and that's where I have run my and command. So this is your build.xml file. It is trying to talk to this Apache and is trying to talk to build.xml file. Now this poor build.xml file is trying to fetch for local extensions.xml file. It is unable to find it. If it is unable to find it, build will fail. If build fails, I cannot do a deployment. That means I cannot start my server. So in order to do this, let's see what happens. I'm just continuing it. No config folder found. No config folder was found at your Hybriss directory. So if you see within your Hybriss folder, you don't have a config directory, right? It is saying that I am unable to find what is with the config directory. Cool. A fresh folder containing basic configuration files and the Hybriss demo license will be created for your convenience. Now, demo license doesn't mean trial version and full version kind of license. Demo version means something which you cannot take live. That means you cannot use this license to take your application to live. For that, you would require production licenses. Okay? So it is just for your development purpose. Local development wise, it's called demo license. Okay, so it is saying that because it has not found anything called config, it is trying to create a new folder called config folder. And what will it try to do? Please adjust and review the configuration files and call ant again. This directory will never be overwritten or touched again. Always use this configuration folder for configuration of platform. Do not change anything within the platform folder. So these are the suggestions for the technical folks. If they go and try to modify platform, it will be a huge modification, because platform is like something which is the root of everything. So if you change anything in platform, everything else will get corrupted, because everything is dependent on platform only. Technical guys, for you it is not sufficient. I try to summarize this and ultimately get you to a point where only necessary steps are required. I am telling you too much of geeky stuff now, so that you will understand much more in detail. That is why. Okay. Now if you see here, it is asking us, do you want to have a development version or do you want to have a production version of your application? If you are interested in typing production, you'll have to type PRODUCTION here. Otherwise, you see the default value is develop right here. It's there in square brackets. Anything in square brackets is a default value. Just remember this notation. If I press enter, it will take develop. If I want to type product, if I want to enter production, I'll have to type it. So for now, I'm just typing enter. Okay. Now see here, copying 23 files, something on the side to basically create the config folder for me. Let me go here. Let me go back to Hybriss. You can see a config folder. If you open this, you have your local extension.xml. Let me try to open this once. If you see it now, it is containing what all extensions you will have to build. See, it is containing an extension name equal to admin cockpit, back office, cockpit, HMC, MCC. If you just scroll down, you can see that there is this, B2B commerce, base commerce, payment, promotions. So all of these extensions, all of these APIs are being built. That means they are being compiled. The Java code which is written in these extensions are now being compiled, and the corresponding bytecode and the jar files are trying to be created. Now those are all getting created now. Okay. Once those are created, your build will be successful. Once the build is successful, you can start your Hybriss application. Okay. So the third command can be executed once this is successful. Okay. Let us see what ant clean all did. See, the first command while setting up is go to platform folder. Platform folder is in bin folder, right? It is in bin folder. Open this in command prompt. Guys, you'll have to write these points down, otherwise you'll not be able to do your local setup. Just 3-4 points, that's it. This is not rocket science, it's very simple to set up Hybriss in your local environment. You just need to know what command you need to run during the setup. The first thing that you have done is just go to platform folder, open this in command prompt. Okay, just open a command prompt, go to here and type cmd in your run and go to that path. Once you go to that path, type set and env dot dat. Okay, set and env dot dat means it will set up your ant environment. This basically will set your ant home. Ant home as in this is an environmental variable. I am not sure how many of you already know about environmental variable and all. See, basically this version of Hybriss will require 1.7 JDK in your local. You need to install Java 1.7 in your local. You need not do anything. Just go to Java's main website, download it. It is for free. And just to follow the instructions which are there in Google, just to type setup Hybriss, setup Java 1.7 in Windows or in MSE. So it will give you all list of steps. Okay. You guys can hear me, right? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yep. Listen.
Okay. So if you see here, the next command that you have typed is and space clean space on. Basically, this command will take close to around 5 seconds max. Okay? At max, it will take 5 seconds. One more thing, guys, I forgot. The prerequisite is you need to have JDK 1.7, like I told, plus you need to have a 64-bit OS. Do not try to work on a 32-bit OS and say that no, boss, I am unable to set it up. You need a 64-bit OS. Okay, Windows, whatever it is, you need to have a 64-bit one. The next thing is minimum of 4 GB RAM. For this version, believe me, anything on 5.5 and above, you have less than 8 GB, it will never work. For 5.5 and above, you have to have 8 GB RAM if it is 5.5 and above. What happens if I try to run it in 4 GB only? You run and see it, you will only understand. It will hang very frequently. Okay? Now, if you have these things, you can do all your Hybriss setup, because Hybriss basically needs Java to be Java, right? So you need to have Java setup. And for setting up JDK 1.7, it's very simple. Just to type in Google, download it, and then you can just install. There are plenty of websites and tutorial sites which will just help you to set up Java in your local application. You get any error, just to type that error in Google, you will be able to. You need not be a developer to solve those problems. It's very, very simple. All the general errors are all documented in the internet. You can just go type there, Stack Overflow will be your god. Okay? Now, you have your ant clean all command. Now, this command will create missing folders and missing files and will do the build activity. Okay? Now, there should be a question here. Do I need to run ant clean all every time I start my server? No. To start your server, you need not run ant clean all every time. Okay, then when should I run it? You need to run ant command, any command of ant, only if there is a code change. If somebody has written a code and you want to see the code in your application, as in the code changes getting reflected in your application, then you need to run ant clean all. What ant clean all basically does is, imagine that it is more like your, what should I say? I don't have a perfect analogy also. Okay, it is more like that sweeper. Assume that it is like a sweeper, which will sweep everything and it will try to create again from the scratch. For example, written you have written 100 Java and 100 Java files. For those 100 Java files, 100 bytecode files have been created. Okay. Now, if you run ant clean all the 100 would be deleted, and again 100 will be created from the scratch. That is what ant clean does. Now, because it's a time-based activity, one second. Because it's a headache, there's another alternative command called ant-all. This is like the Chotu version of ant clean. What this will do is, it will not create any folders. It will not create any files. What it will do is just to do the build. Now within build also, it will do only, it is a lazy command. What it will try to do is, check if any file is modified. Check if any file is modified. If it is modified, only work on that file. So out of 100 files, you only modified 2 Java files. Only 2 will be modified in the existing build. Build will not be deleted and recreated. Whatever build is there, in that it will see, okay, these files have been modified, let me go and modify them again. That is what it does. So ant all is generally used once the coding starts. Ant clean all will be used if there is any corrupted version of your code, or if you feel that no, the code is not stable, let me try to delete all the bytecode and get it recreated. At that point of time, you will run ant clean all. Generally, whenever the code is moved from one environment to another environment, see, because the environments are coming to picture, I'll tell you what is the general flow. All the developers will have a local environment. That means their own machines in which they write their code. From here, they push the code, that means they merge the code into a development environment where you will have code of all the developers. So for example, there are, let's say, 5 developers. One developer is working on cart, the other on checkout, the other one on order, the other one on payment. So there are 5 people who are working on 5 different works. Now all the common code which they have written will be merged into development environment. Here is where end-to-end testing will happen. Here only their module testing will happen. Here I can do only my module testing. If I am assigned with cart work, I can only check cart related one. But if I want to see how my cart has impacted your code, I have to check it in development environment, because that's where I will also merge your code, I will also merge my code, you will also merge your code. From here, we will push it to some intermediate environments if required. Otherwise, it will be pushed to QA environment. Okay, QA is your testing environment. Okay, from there, generally the code is moved to SIT, which is your system integration testing environment. Okay, now from here is where your integrations will be tested. That means you have your SAP integration, you have your other integrations. Those integrations generally are not done in local and development. Okay, because they require huge setups and all. The server setup, the server configurations, etc. are required at a huge rate. That is why it is generally not done in all the environments. It is only done in the place wherever it is required. So from SIT, it will be pushed to UAT, which is your user acceptance testing environment. Okay. So from here, you may be having several staged environments again. Ultimately, you will be pushing it to production. So production contains your code well before, it contains only after your thorough testing. So each of these environments, see, I am working on my local. I have written a Java code. I generally use ant-all to check my code. Okay, I use ant-all to check my code. But if I am testing the same thing in a development environment, I always do an ant clean all. I delete all the build data which is there as of that build. Recreate everything from the newly merged code. Somebody has merged the code. Let me take the latest copy of that merged code and then let me try to do a build activity from the scratch. Once I do this, my build activity will be successful here. So that's how, if it is successful, then I start the server here. In a similar way, I push the code here, I do the build activity and I do the server startup. Or you can directly move the build files also. That will also be okay. So how do you follow will depend upon the architect in your application. Okay, there is no generic rule, but the generic standard that is generally followed across the industry is perform an ant clean all always in the central environments. because in central environments, code will be very delicate, right? If something is just is just bugged out, then it will be very big problem, because testing and all will be impacted to a huge extent. You need to see all the dependent modules also, and every time you merge a code, every time you do a build, regression testing should be done across all of those environments. If let's say I have pushed my code into development environment, I need to do regression testing, end-to-end testing basically, to see whether my code has impacted anywhere or not. That's a general standard, and you have to suggest as a functional guy. You should also sit in a meeting when if you are lucky enough to start a project right from the scratch, try to create that such kind of a rule saying that every time a developer merges any kind of a code in any kind of environment, do a regression testing, okay, and see the impacted changes and verify whether they are because of his change or not. Okay, now and all, like I told, is a mini command. It's like haj ka chota recharge kind. Okay, now after your build is successful, start your server. That's it. To start your server, Hybriss has given a beautiful command called, just go to your bin folder, platform folder. You see there is something called Hybriss server.bat. This is BAT file, BAT file. This is SH file. So what do you need to do? Just to type Hybriss server.bat. Your application will be started. So if you see here, my build is successful. Now what do I need to do? Type Hybriss server.bat. Hybriss server.bat. Then type enter. Let me just pause it here. If you see, it is saying that the moment I have started my server, it is saying that it is using some config file called wrapper.conf, which is present in platform tomcat conf wrapper.conf. Okay, I'll repeat this one more time. I just type the Hybriss server.bat. If you see, it is saying the immediate next step is it is saying that used config, and it is saying that it has used something called wrapper.conf in platform tomcat 6 conf. So it is using something called platform tomcat 6 conf wrapper.conf. This is what it is saying, right? This is what it has used. Right, let me try to start the server. Okay, now what does this mean? See, every time you start your application server, always an application server will try to take some memory from the available RAM. Always it will try to take some available memory from the RAM so that it will not get hanged. Let's say you are not having so much of RAM in your local machine. Okay, you want to run a 5.5 application on 4 GB machine. Now, because it's 4 GB, it may not work sometimes because it will run out of memory. Complete RAM may be used for let's say you are running Facebook and YouTube videos on Chrome. Okay, and you parallelly tried starting your Hybriss server. Now the Chrome is also an internal process only, right? It is a thread. It is nothing but a thread. In operating systems perspective, it is a thread. The browser will eat up some kind of a RAM because it has to run in the memory only, right? So that memory RAM is shared among several threads, one of which is your Tomcat. Now Tomcat is a very high priority thread. It requires lots of space. Because that space is not available, it will always fail in server startup. What is the alternative for me to start my server if I am having low configuration system? What you need to do is go to this wrapper.conf file. Here you see there is something called max PERM size, max perm size. Now here you need to change this value to either 1024 or 512 or 800. Sometimes you increase and decrease, it will work. Basically, this will tell you how much amount of memory needs to be allotted by the RAM while running. This is called the max perm size variable, which is generally present across almost all of the application servers. Every application server like Tomcat, JBoss, WebLogic, they have their own configuration for these kinds of memory sizes. Okay, remember this. You may be working on different kinds of servers as a part of your project. But still, if sometimes the RAM upgrade cannot be done and you are in a dire position to start your application, this is how you can do it. Okay? I'm being a little too technical in today's class because you need to understand what is happening around. You should not be a person who just reads a blind notes and then go type it down and okay, that is getting set up. You need to understand what is the importance and what is the impact that it is causing. Okay, you may not be a technical developer, but learning this stuff will never be, useless for you. It will always be helpful. At least you will be in a position to sit in a meeting perfectly and discuss something. Okay, so just to make sure that you understand the terminology when you are sitting in a meeting, I'm telling you all this. Otherwise, I would have just told you, boss, take these 3 steps and this is what it will do. Okay, I'll try to summarize the concept. Now that the server is almost up, you will be able to access your application. See, the server has started. So yeah, basically the setup is done. Hybriss setup is done. These are the only 3 steps. But what has happened during these 3 steps is hell lot of things. Okay, I tried explaining you all that. Now, not just that, there's some more to it, which I generally explain in the technical classes. For you, that much amount of stuff is not required, so I generally avoid it. But I would like to add one more simple point here. Now, this is your console, right? This is your server log file. This is all your server log. Now, this log is being saved in your log folder here. You see something called log folder here, right? Which got created when you did ant clean all. Open this folder, you can see your Tomcat log. So your server log, some bug has, there is some exception, there is some production error. You need to analyze it. How will you analyze it? You will analyze it by checking the log file. This is where the log file is present. In the log folder, but this log folder was not given to us out of the box. Right? When we extracted the suit, we only had bin and licenses. When we did ant clean all, that's when we got log folder, right? So if you see log folder, it contains your log related data. Temp will contain all the junk. So it will be automatically deleted whenever you restart your server or stop your server. Basically, to stop your server, you need to press Ctrl and C together. That's a graceful way of shutting down. Always remember, do not close your server like this. Okay, do not go to command prompt and close it. You may be in an extreme hurry. I would strongly suggest you not to do that. Instead, shut down your system. Okay, what will happen if I close this? Generally, what happens is, this complete thing is a thread. Okay, in a technical terminology, if I have to tell you, this is all a thread. A thread is running. What will happen is, it may not close properly. If it is not closing properly, it will hang your system. Or it will cause a delayed amount of hanging on the screen, which will say not responding. So your taskbars, etc. start disappearing, and it will be too irritating for you to work on other things. So just save 1 second of your time and press Ctrl C together. It will stop your server. To start your server next time, you need not set your ant environment and all. Just to go to your bit. See, I'll do that one more time for you guys. I am stopping the server here. See, I am typing Ctrl C continuously. Now it has stopped my server. What will I try to do? I can go to platform and say Hybriss server.bat. This way also it will work. Or close this. Go to your bin folder and double click on your Hybriss server.bat. This will also start your server. This is also starting my server only. So only for the first time you need to do your ant clean all. The rest of the times you need not do that. Okay? For practice purpose, I am telling you this is very important. In your project, how will they do? How can you take the latest code? For that, you need to learn something called SVM. Right now, we will not learn that because that is not at all required. For practice purpose, this much is sufficient, and that I am telling you. Now it is just starting my server. Okay, as a part of server startup, what is happening? What is happening right now is the moment server is getting started, all the bytecode that got generated when you did your ant clean all is being put on the application server. So your Java code, which got converted to bytecode, is now being taken and it is being put on the top of that application server. So now if you access your server, you will be able to access your application. That is what is happening. So I'll repeat the process. First of all, go to platform folder, open the folder in command prompt, type set.env.bat file. The moment you do this, it will set your Ant environment. Just give me a second, guys. Just give me 1 second. So if you see here, guys, carefully, whatever we have, so for the first thing we have done is we have gone into platform folder. After that, we have opened this in command prompt, then typed set and env.bat. Once that is done, this will just take 5 seconds of time. Then we have done and clean all. And clean all will take close to around 4 to 5 minutes because I have paused in between and started explaining you about what config is and other things. It was taking a little time. Otherwise, it will ideally take around 3 to 4 minutes of your time. Okay. After that is done, you can just start your application server. So Hybriss server.bat. These are the 3 commands that you need to run. Okay. Now, how do you do a similar setup in 5.5 and above? See, in 5.5 and above, there's documentation is there in 5.5 and above. So you can go to 5.5 above releases and type that in wiki and you will be able to get it. Okay. Just see if you can get wiki access. Right. We will not provide wiki access to you. If you can get it, it would be great, so that you can learn more things. Now, if you see here in your in 5.5, there is something called installer. Okay, just go to installer. Here you have install pat. This is install pat file. So there the command is more like this: install.bat -r some b2b underscore acc b2b underscore acc. If you are trying to set up a B2B application. If you are trying to set up a B2C application, it is B2C underscore acc. This will do your ant clean all and set and env.bat, set and env.bat and clean all. Both the things it will do together. After this, you need to just start your server. This is the only command you need to do. And that and install.bat you have to run from your that install.bat will have to run from your install folder, not from platform folder. This is the only change. Okay, do not worry much about it because this is all well documented and it is available for you in wiki. If you are working on 5.5 and above, you will get plenty of help directly from the wiki Hybriss. Okay, so let's see if our server is up. Okay, you can see that the server is started in so and so seconds. See guys, whenever you try to develop any kind of application, there will be 3 layers. Okay, this is your presentation layer, this is your business layer, this is your database layer. Okay, this is your presentation layer where you enter your form. For example, let's say this is your Facebook. You are entering your username and password. Now from here, it has to talk to its business layer, right? Saying that boss, somebody has entered me some details. Try to validate it. So that authentication logic needs to be present. That is present here. That authentication logic. Now from here, it will try to verify whether the data is existing in the database or not. First of all, there should be somebody named that with that user ID and password registered in the database. If I have it, I can fetch it out and show it to you. General, you enter a form, that authentication takes place, and your details are fetched from the database. So there are 3 layers. You have a presentation layer, you have a business layer, you have a database layer. Now, one second. Now that the server is up, let me just go back here. Okay. In this, as a part of your startup, whenever you try to start your application, like I told you, 3 layers will be there, right? The first layer, to access your presentation layer, you need some kind of a URL. You need to form a URL. URL will be something like this. You will have a protocol, host IP address, port name, port number. This is what is the general kind of your URL structuring. Right now, the protocol that we would be accessing is a HTTP protocol. Okay, it's a HTTP protocol. If you see here on the server, you see there is something called HTTP 9001. There is also something called HTTP 9002. This is HTTPS. This is not HTTP. It's HTTPS. HTTPS is a secured protocol. HTTP is non-secure. So HTTP will run on 9001. HTTPS will run on 9002. Now here what I am going to do is my host IP address, right? The host IP, because my application is running in local, I will type it as localhost. Otherwise, you can type 127.0.0.1. That is the local IP address for any machine. Every machine's local IP address is 127.0.0.1. I am not talking about internet connection, general connection. Okay, localhost 9001. That's it. So what did I do? To access my presentation layer, I have typed HTTP localhost. Sorry, double slash will be there. Localhost 9001. If you are lazy, no problem. Just type localhost 9001 also. It will take HTTP only by default. That's a default protocol in any kind of application. So just copy this, open your browser, paste it, and say enter. Localhost 9001. Okay, it is showing me something called Hybriss administration console. Did it ask me for a login? Guys, did it ask me for a login?
No.
It did not. It directly showed me this.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you see here, it is saying something related to database and all, HSQL and all. Okay, let's ignore it. Can I click lock? Unlock? Okay. Can I click other options here? Is it taking me anywhere? No, it is not taking me anywhere. I have another button called initialize. Let me click on this. What is it saying? Read this.
Are you sure you want to initialize this? Will destroy
Okay,
all
one second. Whenever you try to read it loudly, clearly, and in such a way that everybody can understand. There are lots of people in the class, right? So when you are reading, you have to make sure that everybody can understand. Be a little more clear.
Are you sure you want to initialize system? It will destroy all current data.
So it will destroy all current data. Right now, do we have any database? Did we talk about database? Do we have any data right now? Any tables or anything like that?
No.
So even though if it destroys all current data, it doesn't really matter for me, right?
Yes.
So let me try to click on OK. It is saying dropping tables. Initial system. It is trying to drop and create old and create new empty system. So it is trying to do some kind of a database related activity. Now let's go back to our data folder. If you see in the data folder which we have, which got created at the time of ant clean all, is now having something called HSQL DB folder. Open this, you see something called mydb. Now what is happening to the size?
Yeah, it's increasing.
Right now, all the test data is getting created. Okay, it's not called test data, it's called seed data. Now what is it and all, we'll see tomorrow. See, there's something called mydb.data file which got created and it is slowly increasing its size. See here, it will constantly increase as we start discussing. Okay, so what did we do? We started our application by using localhost 9001. The moment we typed it, it took us to a console called Hybriss administration console. There we had two buttons called lock and initialize. I clicked on initialize because it was not allowing me to click on any other button. Okay, when I clicked on it, it was saying that it will destroy all my system. So I was saying, okay, no problem, go ahead and destroy. So it is really doing that, and it is trying to work out on some tables. Now, what are these tables? So why is it trying to create tables and all? We'll see tomorrow. So remember one point. Today we have seen this console that the moment we started our server and arrived onto this, it did not even ask us for a login because there was no user who was there. As a part of initialization,